Welcome back to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jerry. And today we're going over Brad's top 20 favorite movies, his number 15. And his number 15 is Blood Simple, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, written and edited by both Joel and Ethan Coen, starring John Getz and Frances McDormand. The story goes, the owner of a seedy small-town Texas bar discovers that one of his employees is having an affair with his wife. A chaotic chain of misunderstandings, lies, and mischief ensues after he devises a plot to have them murdered. All right, so why Brad likes this movie, I would say, is it's very smart in its storytelling. It's really it's one of those movies that you really have to pay attention to what's going on, because if you miss any part of it, you don't understand how the domino falls, right? And I know that Brad is a big fan of the Coen brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They've done things like, what's that one movie? Old Men, No Country for Old Men, movies like this. And they're really, to me, it seems like most of their movies are about this grandiose scheme with ordinary people. Mm-hmm. And it just really kind of goes downhill from there. Mm-hmm. I think that intrigues Brad, especially since we know that one of his favorite directors is John Sayles, who's kind of in the same realm, I would say, of storytelling. They both have different styles, but it's in the same kind of
they're contemporaries, and they kind of came up through the same kind of indie filmmaking kind of shoot. Sayles a little more independent than the Coen brothers have. The Coen brothers have kind of skated the edge of independent movie with, they did a lot of movies like Miramax and stuff like that. So like the smaller, like boutique parts of major studios for the most part. You're pretty much on. This is a neo noir.
Yes,
I love me a neo noir.
It's a good neo noir.
It's such a tightly written script, and there's nothing to this movie. There's like no elaborate sets. I mean, this movie was probably shot for $100,000, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's like in like 4 different locations.
It's like
maybe
in 4 different. Yeah, it's like there's a bar, there's a house, there's an apartment,
and there's a road.
And there's a road, and that's kind of and a field, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
There's no real special effects, like elaborate special effects. There's some bullet stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, like everything is in the script. It's a perfect script. There's no fat on this script at all. Not a single bit. Everything plays out. There's nothing that you're left wondering, well, what did that mean? Or this?
Yeah, it's all relative to each other. And the only reason why I watched this movie was because Brad told me about it. I do like No Country for Old Men. It's a fantastic movie. But Brad was like, if you like that movie, you should really watch the first movie they made. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I watched it. This was a while back. And we watched it, and I thought, oh, that's really good. Now I watched it, and I'm like, wow, this is like a really good, like, mystery, suspense. It's got it all. And the whole story relies on miscommunication and assumption.
Yeah.
All of it. And it's like how people, like, take Three's Company, right? Situational comedy. And Jack was always getting in trouble because people assumed things that he did, or they assumed Chrissy did something somehow, and then the hijinks went. And this is kind of the same thing. Like, they all kind of thought the worst of each other, really. They all thought they were all capable of murder.
Yeah, well, that's just like, they kind of went to like the worst case place on all of them.
Yeah, and it was it doesn't feel dated. It was released. Oh, I didn't even have the release date in here. I think it's
1984.
1984. It doesn't feel dated at all. Like, it's very like kind of an all-time topic.
Yeah.
Like, there's no.
Yeah, you could remake this movie today and it would essentially be the same movie. There's not a whole lot about it that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Maybe like you might have some issues with like trying to integrate cell phone technology into it. The fact that like people don't pick up the phone a couple times is important, but I mean you could still pull that off with cell phones, I think.
Yeah, true. Also, this movie, like Brad was saying, it's jam-packed, like every minute counts. It's only an hour and 36 minutes long. And there's just so much going on that it's amazing to me, coming in this day and age where everything's like 2.5 hours long, to have such a good story jam-packed in that limited amount of time.
Well, I mean, that's what they used to make 90-minute movies. I mean, that's what used to happen is, you know, but
now it's like
they feel like they have to give you more, and honestly, by doing that, they're usually giving you less. It's a kind of a weird paradox.
Right. And it's not a super heavy dialogue film. There's not, you know, what you're watching is mostly talking and not a lot of action, but there's not a lot of dialogue in the sense where people are like, you know, going off on monologues, or, you know, it's just really like
it almost all of it moves the story forward in some way. It either moves the story forward or informs you about the characters.
Yeah. And the acting is so good that you don't really need them to tell you much, because you know what, by their actions and the way they're playing their characters, you can tell exactly what they're thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good above the neck acting. That's what I kind of like to call it, when the camera's like on their face.
Yes.
Like John Getz and Frances McDormand, there's so much of that where it's told like in their face, like what's going on, and you're like, and then you like it's also a story where, you know, like I've mentioned this on previous. There's three ways to tell a story. There's a story where both you and the characters find out things at the same time. There's stories where the characters on screen know more than you do, and then there are movies where you know more than the characters, and this is one of those where you know things that they don't know,
because they basically these characters are basically creating their own story in their mind. Like, they'll see something, like I think there's one where they see like a gun. She sees a gun somewhere and she's like, oh, he must have killed him.
Well, and it's not like the leaps of logic that they're taking are out of bounds. Like, everything they, like the stories that they like, the way that they like put the whole story together, it makes sense. Each of the ones that they put together makes sense. But you as the audience know all, like, everything, so you know where they're right and where they're wrong and stuff like that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things in this whole storyline.
Like, there's only one thing like I don't get, which is, so there's this like big, you know, it's a spoiler alert for a movie that's 40 years old. There's a movie, there's a scene where you see like this big incinerator, and one of the characters uses the incinerator to, like, you know, destroy some evidence. But it's like, why didn't you destroy the bigger evidence?
Well, this is where I think that, you know, that's what I mean when I say they're very ordinary characters. They've never killed anyone before.
Yeah.
They don't realize, oh, I could just pop that body in the incinerator and it'll go away. Like, they're so frantic about what has just happened that they're not thinking clearly. And so they're like, oh, I'll just go bury him in the desert. That's the best option.
Yeah. I think their motivations are really interesting the whole time too.
Yeah. Some of them are trying to protect each other because they think the other one did it. And it's bonkers. There's a lot of interesting camera things, lots of shadows. The bug zapper is interesting because you're watching one of the main characters. I can't remember the character's name. The guy who owns the bar. Marty. So Marty's sitting there and he's talking out loud about giving us a story, and you kind of see his mind start, because he just realizes that his person that works for him is having an affair with his wife. And so you see this whole thing, like just his mind going, and you hear the zapping of the bugs flying into the bug zapper, and it's really ominous. There's a lot of excuse me, there's a lot of low angle shots where you're looking up at the person. I'm not really sure what I guess that was used for, like, whoever has like the power at the time.
I think that's part of it, and I think they shoot Frances McDormand's character that way to try to get you to feel like she's a little immature. Like, that's how they shoot children typically.
Yeah.
So I think they were kind of using that, so, you know, it has kind of a payoff, you know, I'm talking about towards the end. I think that might be why they're doing that.
Okay.
That's just my perception of it.
Okay. For a movie that was their first movie.
Very first movie.
It's incredible.
It's one of the best debut movies you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's so good. It's intense, but not super intense, and it's riveting enough for you to, like, really care about what happens to these people and what's going on. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what I noticed this time around. I think I kind of, you know, there wasn't really too much to notice. I think I picked up a little bit more of the story this time around, because it gets a little convoluted a little bit, but not a lot. You can follow it easily.
It's kind of supposed to.
Yeah, right.
Because it's convoluted for the characters, because they're like, what's going on? Like, trying to figure out why did you do this? Now I got to do this because you did this. Even though, like, neither of them did something. It's
crazy. And the end scene where the hired killer comes to find Frances McDormand's character and the guy, right? And it's kind of like a cat and mouse thing where he's trying to get to her, she's trying to avoid him, and it's all done in this apartment complex. And it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
And is it in Texas?
It's set in Texas, yeah.
Set in Texas, so everybody's hot all the time too. Which adds.
I mean, that's where they're from, so a lot of their movies tend to be set there.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, it's a really, really excellent movie. If you have a chance to see it, you should.
All right. I gave it a score of 79. It's pretty high up there. Yeah. Very, very good movie. If you ever have the chance to watch it, you should. It's really, really good. Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
All right. Well, let us know how you feel about Blood Simple if you've seen it. If you want to make a comment or like our video, please do so. If you'd like to contact us directly, please do so at ratingthelist@gmail.com. But for now, I'm Jerry.
I'm Brad.
And we're Rating the List. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.